Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we'll be talking about staying alive in a team fight, the tipping point at which this does more harm than good, and how to never trickle your respawns again. Needless sustain. Okay, so at first this idea seems counterproductive. How can staying alive ever be a bad thing? Well, in this video we'll discuss situations where staying alive actively harms your team, in team fights that are concentrated on a single point. Say capture point or hybrid maps like Hollywood or Numbani, creating man advantage with good initiation and trades is the way to win, and usually the odds are stacked in the attacker's favour because of its respawn advantage, etc. Now, one of the ways that an attacking team can mess up their pushes and essentially hand the defenders a serious edge is in not knowing the value of grouping up efficiently. There are two main reasons for this, and one of them feeds into the other as I'm going to discuss later, but the first, as I mentioned, is not knowing when a fight is lost and dragging it out needlessly, staying alive, creating a delay between your teammates' respawns and your own. Characters that have large solo sustain capabilities are the easiest to make this mistake with. Some tanks and off tanks, but even heroes like Genji, Reaper and Tracer can be susceptible of this. Half committing to a lost fight when they don't need to, keeping themselves alive but always risking being caught out, and this is the point. As a player, you have to realise when a fight is lost and either evade to safety, and I mean real safety, away from your opponents and not peeking, or die as quickly as possible so you respawn with the rest of your team. The reason this is so important is that having one of your team staying up from a previous fight until you're just about to regroup and go in as a full 6, only to die early, is such a blow to your momentum. It constitutes the same result as a terrible peak and early death, robbing your team of the ability to properly initiate and set up trades. You might as well wait for the full 6 again. If this keeps happening, and believe me this happens a lot, even at diamond rank, then you will lose ultimate advantage and possibly the entire match. It's one of the biggest problems in the game for unorganised teams, and a lot of it comes down to people not understanding basic game principles or playing selfishly. One of the glaring differences from watching pro matches and then playing in ranked competitive, aside from the obvious massive gap in individual skill, is how pros always wait for a full 6 before doing anything, and how much cleaner their team fights are. Now, a lot of that is down to coordination and communication, something that isn't easy in solo queue, but I'm also sure that a huge part of it is poor fundamentals and awareness of what's actually going on in a team fight. The full team fight principle. This sounds obvious, but to give yourself the best chance of success on attack, you need to engineer a situation where you have as many full team fight exchanges as possible, while keeping any wasted pushes to a minimum. Trickling, fighting a man down from the start, poking at the choke while grouping up and getting picked, these are the opposite of this idea, and they happen because either people just spawn in and run into a group team over and over again after losing the initial fight, or they survive the first engagement but don't evade and die at the wrong time, knocking their respawns out of sync. This is how staying alive or self-sustaining can actually harm your team, especially in solo queue. The less times your team groups up and commits to a fight together, the less likely you are to win. It's that simple. This is predominantly an attacking mistake, but it's true in King of the Hill as well, where there are no respawn advantages for either side. Countless times I've lost games simply because people keep fighting under strength, keep poking, refusing to group up and not knowing when to concede a point for a better chance next time. Now, it can also happen on defense too, but at least there it's a little bit more understandable. There are times where sustaining is the only thing you can do, hoping against hope that your team respawn in time while you sit in your May ice cocoon with an entire enemy team waiting for you to thaw out of it. However, trickling in to defend the first point on Hollywood when it's beyond the point of saving can scupper your team's chances of holding the streets phase, allowing your opponents to snowball you and take the whole point with little or no opposition. Sometimes it is just better to die as quickly as possible and group up than to valiantly take on 3 tanks and a McCree as Genji, never dying but never doing anything impactful either before eventually dying at the worst possible time. Simple principles. So in conclusion, all of this can be remedied by having a better grasp of the following ideas. The more full team fights, the better your chances of success, even if that means jumping off the map to respawn with your teammates. The fewer precious resources you waste like a panic solo graviton to keep yourself alive, the better. And don't peek or poke while grouping up. Getting picked early is far worse than the few points that other team gains while you're waiting safely for your team in King of the Hill. As I say, I know this can be hard to do in solo queue, and it can be hard to realise what's going on and when in a team fight, but the truth is, sometimes staying alive is worse than dying with your team. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like. If you want us to cover anything specific, please leave a comment below. Also, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new streams and videos. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.